The first sound Lily Parker never heard was her son's cry, but she felt it. She felt the tiny body trembling against her chest in the hospital room, his little fists pressing against her skin, his mouth opening in a wail she could only see, not hear. The nurse smiled and said something Lily couldn't understand, but Lily didn't need words. She knew what that cry meant. Life. Her son was alive. Lily pressed her cheek against the soft fuzz of his head and closed her eyes. For a moment, the world was quiet in the way it had always been for her, silent but full. She traced the outline of his tiny fingers with her own, committing every detail to memory. She had waited her entire life for this moment. But the world outside that hospital room didn't see what Lily felt. All they saw was a deaf single mother. And 3 weeks later, they took her baby away. The knock on Lily's apartment door was firm and official. She opened it slowly, shifting baby Noah against her shoulder. 2 strangers stood in the hallway. A woman holding a clipboard and a man with a stiff expression. Their lips moved quickly, and Lily caught only fragments. Report? Safety. Investigation. Her heart started racing. Lily quickly grabbed the small notebook she always kept by the door and wrote in careful letters, "I am deaf, please write." The woman exchanged a glance with the man before scribbling something down. "We are from Child Protective Services." Lily's stomach dropped. She shook her head immediately, confusion flooding her face. Another note appeared. "We received reports that your baby is unsafe here." Unsafe? Lily looked around her tiny apartment. It wasn't fancy. The paint peeled in places and the furniture was old, but everything was clean. The crib stood beside her bed, perfectly made. Bottles were washed and lined neatly on the counter. Noah stirred in her arms, blinking up at her with sleepy eyes. Lily kissed his forehead, panic rising. She wrote again, hands shaking. "Who said that? My baby is safe. I love him." The woman sighed, clearly uncomfortable. More writing. "Neighbors reported that the baby cries for long periods and you don't respond." The words felt like a punch. Of course he cried. All babies did. But Lily couldn't hear him. Instead, she slept with one hand inside the crib so she could feel him move. She had installed a cheap baby monitor that flashed lights when it detected sound. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. She tried. She tried every single day. But explanations didn't matter. Within an hour, Noah was gone. The silence in the apartment that night felt heavier than anything Lily had ever known. She sat on the floor beside the empty crib, clutching the tiny blue blanket the social worker had accidentally left behind. Her shoulders shook as tears rolled down her face. For most of her life, people had underestimated her. Teachers who assumed she couldn't learn, employers who believed she couldn't work, strangers who spoke to her slowly, loudly, like she was broken. But nothing had prepared her for this, for someone deciding she couldn't be a mother. Across town, 9-year-old triplets, Emma, Ellie, and Ethan Carter were sitting at their kitchen table finishing homework when their mother mentioned the news. "Well," Mrs. Carter said casually, scrolling on her phone, "the apartment building down the street had some child welfare situation today." Emma looked up. "What happened?" "A baby was taken from a deaf woman," her mother replied. Apparently she couldn't hear the baby crying. Ellie frowned. "That sounds sad." Ethan pushed his glasses up his nose. "Maybe it's not true." Mrs. Carter shrugged. "Who knows? These things are complicated." But the triplets exchanged glances, because they knew that woman. Lily Parker worked at the small grocery store, where the triplets bought snacks after school. She was the cashier who always greeted them with the same bright smile, the one who remembered their favorite candy, the one who used silly sign language gestures to make them laugh. Emma was the first to speak. "She's nice." Ellie nodded. "She helped me when I dropped my coins last week." Ethan added quietly, "And she always checks the baby monitor in her bag." Their mother paused. "What baby monitor?" "All the time," Emma said. "It flashes lights." Mrs. Carter slowly set down her phone. Why would she carry that to work? The 3 kids looked at each other again. "Because," Ellie said softly, "she worries about the baby." 2 weeks later, Lily stood in family court. Her lawyer spoke quickly beside her, but Lily's focus stayed on the empty chair where Noah should have been. The courtroom lights felt too bright, too cold. The judge, a stern man with silver hair, flipped through documents. "The question before the court," he said, "is whether Ms. Parker can safely care for her child given her disability." Disability. The word echoed like a wall closing in. Lily's lawyer handed her a tablet where the court translator typed the proceedings so she could read along. Line after line appeared on the screen. Concerns about responsiveness, potential neglect, risk factors. Lily's hands trembled. She wanted to stand up, to scream, to tell them how she checked Noah's breathing 20 times a night, how she memorized the rhythm of his tiny chest rising and falling, how love didn't require ears, but the words stayed trapped inside her. Then the courtroom doors suddenly opened. 3 small voices echoed through the room. "Wait!" Everyone turned. The Carter triplets hurried inside, slightly out of breath, their mother trailing behind them. The bailiff frowned. "You can't just—" "They're witnesses," Mrs. Carter said quickly. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Witnesses?" Emma stepped forward, clutching a folded piece of paper. "Yes, sir," the courtroom murmured. The judge studied the children. "And what exactly did you witness?" Ellie looked directly at Lily, then back at the judge. "That she's a good mom." Children rarely spoke in family court, but something about the triplets' determination made the judge pause. "Very well," he said carefully. "One at a time." Emma went first. She stood on the witness stand, feet barely reaching the floor. "We see Ms. Parker almost every day," she said. "At the grocery store." "And," the judge prompted, "she checks the baby monitor in her bag every few minutes." The judge leaned forward. "Explain." Emma held up the folded paper. "It was a drawing of Lily's monitor. It flashes when it hears the baby," she explained. "She told us with sign language." The courtroom grew quieter. Ellie stepped up next. "One time the batteries died," she said. "She got really worried and left work early to check on the baby." Ethan was last. He adjusted his glasses nervously. "My science teacher says deaf people use other senses more," he said. A few people smiled. "But Miss Parker," he continued, "she told us she sleeps with her hand in the crib so she can feel the baby move." The judge froze. "Her hand? In the crib?" Ethan nodded. "Every night." Silence spread through the courtroom. Even the lawyers stopped writing. For the first time since the hearing began, the judge looked directly at Lily. Really looked. At the dark circles under her eyes, the trembling hands, the desperate hope she tried to hide. He slowly removed his glasses. "Ms. Parker," he said gently, knowing she would read the words on the screen. "Is that true?" Lily nodded immediately, tears spilling down her cheeks. Her fingers moved instinctively in sign language. "I always feel him," the interpreter translated aloud. "I always feel him." The judge leaned back in his chair. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then he closed the case file. "Parenthood," the judge said slowly, "is not measured by perfect conditions." His gaze moved from the lawyers to the social workers. "Nor is it measured by hearing ability." He turned back to Lily. "It is measured by love, effort, and commitment." A pause. Then the words everyone had been waiting for. "This court finds no evidence that Ms. Parker is an unfit mother." Lily's heart pounded. The judge's gavel lifted. "Her son will be returned to her immediately." The sound of the gavel struck like thunder. Even though Lily couldn't hear it, she felt the vibration through the floor. And suddenly the courtroom erupted. Smiles, whispers, tears. The triplets grinned at each other. An hour later, a social worker placed Noah back in Lily's arms. The moment his tiny fingers wrapped around hers, Lily broke down crying. She kissed his cheeks again and again. Holding him so tightly, it was as if she could protect him from the entire world. Emma stepped closer and tapped Lily's arm. When Lily looked up, the triplets signed something slowly. They had practiced it in the car, 3 small hands moving carefully. "Good, Mom." Lily stared at them. Then she smiled through tears and signed back. "Thank you." Weeks later, life slowly returned to normal. Lily went back to work. Noah grew stronger every day. And at the grocery store, 3 familiar kids still stopped by after school. But now, whenever Lily checked the flashing baby monitor in her bag, she would glance toward the door. just in case 3 small heroes walked in again. Because sometimes the loudest voices in the world are the ones brave enough to speak when everyone else stays silent.